All right, guys, you know it, I know it. We are currently sitting in the Trump administration. Yay! And it wouldn't be the Trump administration without leftists screaming, crying, and throwing up. In that exact order, I think.
But rather than objects of that should be.
So today, you know, we're going to do what this channel does best, and we're going to respond and react to leftist freakouts over the Trump administration. We all know that Trump declared that there are two sexes, male and female, and you know who's not going to be happy about that? A leftist. So our first video is about sex, and not the fun kind.
Excuse my hair, I just woke up. Donald Trump was inaugurated at 12, and just a few minutes ago, he has now claimed that there will only be the male and female gender that will be recognized in America. This sets back everything that the trans community has been working for.
Hold on, let's fact check this meltdown. Trump's executive order does define sex as biological, male or female, based on reproductive biology. But here's the kicker. Major medical groups like the American Medical Association say gender is a spectrum, not binary. So is this policy pro-reality or ignoring modern science? And no, rolling back ID changes doesn't erase trans folks. It just means the government won't fund ideology over biology. Kids aren't mutilating bodies. Puberty blockers and surgeries do cause sterilization risks. Facts matter, people.
And we have already not been recognized in this country for centuries. If we remember, gay marriage became legal 10 years ago. We had just earned the right to change our gender on our passports and IDs. Just because I want to identify as a man does not mean I am trying to hurt you. In these next 4 years, you are going to hear the most intense anti-trans propaganda you have ever heard in your entire life. And they're going to strew it in a way that sounds extremely convincing because it will fearmonger. It will fearmonger everyone's insecurities. Please talk to your neighbors, protect your trans community, stay involved, and do not forget us because history will try to erase us.
Collect myself before I respond to this. First thing I want to note is I did not believe the crying and the quaking and the breathing, and I did not see a single tear. This signals to me that this person is living in a falsified reality, and it's so falsified that even their body is not really jiving with the narrative they're trying to push forward. I don't think this person truly believes the attack that they're trying to claim they're under actually exists, because you seem to be chilling to me. She goes on to say that a lot of people are going to be convinced by anti-trans arguments because they're based in fear-mongering and getting people to respond through fear. I have a counterpoint to that. I think a lot of people are going to be convinced by anti-trans arguments, if that's even what we want to call them. I just call them pro-reality arguments because they are based in reality and science and what she's trying to push forward when it comes to gender expression and the changing of one's pronouns and identity. It's not true and it's not founded in truth. So as people start to come to this realization and they realize they've been duped by gender theory and gender ideology, I'm sure to this individual it is going to feel like some sort of an attack, and I'm sorry about that, but it's not one, and you do yourself some good to maybe investigate why people feel this way about gender and transgenderism. Now she goes on to give you some action items to look out for your neighbors and protect those trans individuals in your community. You can chill out. You know, I don't think people are going to be banging on your door trying to attack you because you identify as trans. I'm pretty sure what we're living in now is just a world that is pluralistic, where we can talk about the idea that we disagree with your ideology. And if that feels like an attack on you or your existence, that's more of a you thing then it's an us thing. Sure, you might not be able to alter your government ID to say that you're a man when it's very clear that you're a woman, and little kids may not be able to mutilate their bodies, but I can promise you that these are wins for society and not attacks on trans people. But let's move on. It wouldn't be a leftist response without an infographic. So this next one is about gender as well. This says, trans people existing does nothing negative to your life. You crybaby bitch.
Oh, really? Let's talk about actual impacts. When male athletes compete in women's sports, scholarships and records get wiped out. Prison assaults rise when biological males are placed in female facilities, and schools pushing gender ideology. Parents are losing their rights to protect kids from irreversible treatments. But sure, call us crybabies for wanting fairness. This isn't about existence. It's about forcing everyone to play along with a fantasy. The Titanic analogy? More like jumping off a cliff and calling it progress.
This got 3.5 million views on X and 188,000 likes. So this was traveling all over the place. People really felt that this was a message that others needed to hear. Now let's talk about trans ideology and how it affects many people's lives, including the lives of women or cisgendered women, if it makes you feel more comfortable to have that conversation. We are constantly changing the very nature of what words mean, their very definition. This affects us from a medical standpoint. It affects the way we're treated. It affects our sports. It affects our private spaces. It affects what it means to even have womanhood as the basis of your very nature, of your being. And these are negative impacts that are affecting my life and the lives of so many other women and girls all around the world right now. And yes, that is due to trans ideology and its proliferation all across our country and the West in general. We could get into the fact that kids are now living substantially gender confused. They're choosing to mutilate their bodies, which leaves them sterilized, without sexual organs, without the ability to experience sexuality as they grow old. Their minds and bodies completely maimed by gender theory and gender ideology. So I'd say that's a negative impact. And I guess you'd say I'm a crybaby bitch. And I could go on and on listing ways in which transgender ideology negatively impacts my life and the life of many others. But the fact that I even have to sit here and argue it right now is a negative impact that it's having on my life. And I have to point out the fact that the individual that made this infographic didn't even decide to make an argument themselves. They just pointed at people who disagree and said that you're a crybaby bitch. Because that's about all these individuals are capable of when it comes to arguing points that support their ideology, because we've torn through gender theory and gender ideology for so long, pointing out how the very foundation of it is false. So you guys can continue to sit on the Titanic as it's sinking into the ocean, rearranging the chairs and making sure the flower arrangements look nice, but I'm gonna get on the lifeboat that gets me the hell out of here. Now we all know the famous Elon salute that everybody and their mother, brother, and sister is talking about right now, and of course we have some leftists discussing on TikTok.
Hey guys, everything feels really out of control and scary, and I'm really anxious. Elon Musk, did a Nazi salute for some reason. That's so scary.
Wait, this is the Nazi salute? The same guy who thanked the crowd with "My heart goes out to you"? The Anti-Defamation League called it an awkward gesture, but the left's clutching pearls like it's 1945. Funny how they're silent when their side does similar stuff. Also, the Roman salute isn't even historically accurate. It's a myth. If Musk's tism-fueled arm swing terrifies you, maybe log off and touch grass. The real fear-mongering? Projection at its finest.
And Donald Trump's the president, and that's so scary. And he basically admitted to voter fraud, but we're all just kind of glossing over that. Also, if you look up, this is random, if you look up right now in the search bar on TikTok, the Taylor Swift song, "The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived," it's all, for me at least, I'll tell you, it's all replaced with woman, question mark. What is about to happen? I have such impending doom and fear. And what is about to happen? So I'm just laughing because I'm scared. I don't, why, I'm not understanding either why Elon Musk is involved. Isn't he not American? What is going on? What is happening?
Yeah, it's a good thing she didn't make the point that he's not American, given that she's a leftist, and that's not typically the argument for your side when it comes to anything, and especially immigrants. So, good thing you kept that under wraps. Excuse me? That's an African American you're talking about. Now, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I watched this video, and of course, I recognize that this girl is Delulu, but I also see a bit of my former self in her. This was me in 2016 when President Trump was elected. I was on the phone with my best friend just crying. I couldn't believe it. So full of fear and anxiety and impending doom about what was going to happen in my life when this fascist dictator finally took his throne. And guess what? Here I am. How many years later? And supporting Donald Trump himself. So I think this girl is going to be fine. And if you can actively admit that you're feeling anxious, you're feeling a sense of impending doom, you should also be able to admit that this is probably an irrational feeling that you are giving into right now. And we need to access our rationality a little bit, calm down, recognize the fact that you made it through 4 years of President Donald Trump before, and likely you're going to do the same. And if you don't make it through this next 4 years, it's probably not going going to be because of something Donald Trump did. And I'm sorry, this Elon salute thing is going to be something that is brought up, I think, for years to come, when he literally said, "My heart goes out to you," to the crowd. And we all know, usually I say he has a touch of the tism. It's more than a touch, okay? I haven't found a T word that quite works for how much Elon Musk is dealing with autism. But come on, are you genuinely crying because Elon Musk touched his heart and did this whole salute thing? Please, let me put up picture of a left-leaning politician or a left-leaning celebrity doing the exact same thing, and I want you to respond in kind. Where are the waterworks? Nowhere to be found? Okay, well then follow that feeling, because you were able to access your rationality when they did it. So what's not clicking, Steven? What's not working now? It's really interesting, like the temperament that some of these people have. They're freaking out. They can't quite justify or rationalize what's happening right now, why Trump is in power, why there seems to be this red wave that's taking over the country right now. And it's their very inability to rationalize it that has landed them in this position. I mean, I gotta be honest. It's like you guys went to war with reality and you lost, as is so often what happens when people try to go to war with reality. And we watched it over the last 4 years under the Biden administration. They were constantly just pushing through their own initiatives, trying to bend the world to their whim, and then the world just moved straight back where it was supposed to be. And that's why you're upset. That's why you feel a sense of impending doom, because this castle of cards that you created took one little of truth to fall over. And a lot of that truth that's coming through right now is coming through in the form of executive order. And because of these executive orders, a lot of people are saying, I'm no longer going to be friends with Republicans and Trump supporters. Let's read these tweets on X. Popcrave says Donald Trump has rescinded executive orders made by Joe Biden that benefited the following marginalized groups: women, LGBTQ plus community, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders. And I want to point out how disingenuous the writing of this tweet or this post is, that he's saying that he got rid of all these initiatives that Joe Biden was doing in order to benefit these marginalized groups.
DEI programs benefiting marginalized groups? Let's unpack that. DEI quotas often prioritize identity over merit, like lowering standards for jobs or schools. Trump's order aims for equality, not equity. You know what's divisive? Labeling people by race or gender instead of character. MLK dreamed of a colorblind society, and DEI undermines that. Biden's policies were Jim Crow 2.0, segregation with a woke mask. Rolling them back isn't oppression, it's common sense.
Who says that there was benefit? You know, when you push forward these affirmative action, preferential treatment policies, you're actually not benefiting these communities. It may feel like it because you've singled them out in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but what you're actually doing is segregating society. So when Donald Trump gets into office and he rolls a lot of these things back, sure, it's going to feel like oppression because you've been told that the community that you're a part of that's been pitied for so long has been pedestalized with these orders. But in fact, what Joe Biden did and what he's been doing is bringing back a new form of Jim Crow where we segregate people under these positive umbrella terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it needed to go because I value equality over equity. But of course, a leftist responded to this and said, quote, "We can be friends despite having different political views," end quote. And she says, no, actually, here's why we can't. And again, I have to point out that this is the perpetual cycle that so many of this political affiliation, or really anybody of any political affiliation that feels the need to create an echo chamber around them, will experience. You know, if you feel the need to distance yourself and that you cannot possibly coexist with people who have differing views to your own, you're gonna keep losing, right? Because you're segregating yourself from society in the same way that Joe Biden was segregating people with those executive orders that got rolled back. But if you're not willing to listen to somebody who not only disagrees with you, but won in the disagreement, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't think things are going to look up for you. And if you can only manage to be friends with people who you 100% agree with, I think you're going to have a pretty boring life where everything is just going to be mirrored back to you all the time. Where's the challenge? Where's the contention? Where's the learning something? Where's the stepping over barriers and boundaries that you've placed in your mind? Nowhere, because you like to hang out with you, I guess. And that's some sort of moral compass stand that you make against others living amongst you and in your society. I don't know. Best of luck. Next.
Couple things for my girls, and I'm going to keep it brief. First of all, you're going to notice some fashion trends that you've already been noticing them. Old Money, Sophia Richie. Why are they dressed like they're going to the office? Why is that 22-year-old dressed like she robbed my grandma? This is on purpose. Modest style, conservative dress, that is intentional. I need everyone to be aware of this push towards covering up. And if you find yourself wanting to dress that way, make sure it's because you want to, not because everyone else is doing it, not because it's a trend. Because if you fall into this, it's not going to go backwards. It's going to gradually become more and more conservative, and it's going to be nearly impossible for you to get back out of it once you're in it.
What? What is going on? Do you guys have no agency? I thought the whole leftist thing was that everybody has agency and choices. You can do whatever you want. Of course, there are going to be trends, as there always are, but trends sort of function as a pendulum, at least to the best of my understanding, and we go through cycles of things. So if you have a moment in time or an era where women are dressing provocatively and showing a lot of skin, oftentimes the pendulum swings in the other direction and women start dressing more conservatively, and maybe that creates a trend and other women pick it up, but it's not due to patriarchy being reinstated in society and we're never going to go back and you'll never be able to go in the opposite direction. In fact, that's not how style or fashion works, or virtually trends of any kind. And we can see that with the politics of this nation. You're seeing a conservative swing right now in this very moment, and likely on the other end of this Trump presidency, you'll see a swing in the other direction. It's just how things go. I'm okay with that. I acknowledge it. Why can't you do the same? Little strange. And if we're going to talk about fashion and go in depth from that standpoint, this sort of conservative classic beauty has always been around, will always be around, and is really the framework for a lot of female fashion. This sort of slutty, provocative thing that we're doing nowadays is really the trend itself, not conservative classic beauty. Don't worry, guys, under this Trump administration, you're still gonna have every option to have your tits out at any given moment you want. Did you see Lauren Sanchez at the inauguration? Okay, so the choice is yours, as it always has been. You can be a Melania or an Usha, or you can be a Lauren Sanchez. Right now, I'm being a John Fetterman, okay? You can choose. Last one, this is about a war on Republicans.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Kelly, and I am officially declaring war on the Republican Party. If you are a Republican on TikTok and you want to interact with me, you deserve to die.
Wow, declaring war over TikTok? Honey, the Second Amendment exists for a reason. Threatening violence over politics? That's the left's tolerance for you. Meanwhile, conservatives are busy working, paying taxes, and not crying over pronouns. Newsflash, free speech includes disagreeing with you. If your ideology can't handle debate, maybe it's weaker than you think. Naughty Republicans? More like adults who don't need safe spaces.
You deserve to be shot.
What?
You deserve whatever suffering could possibly come to you. If you are a Republican and try to start any of that kind of nonsense with me in person, you will lose your life. This is war. I am not joking. It's done. You are not an American anymore. You're out. You're off the list. You've been naughty. Like, come on. We're gonna start giving you the coal in the form of massive stones on top of a slab of wood on top of you.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Have a wonderful day.
My pearls were clutched at the beginning of that video, and then he kept talking, and it was like the least threatening war declaration I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I was just imagining, I'm not even registered as Republican, I'm registered as an independent. Okay, the girlies are independent. But yeah, no, I was not quaking in my boots by the end of that. We're like totally gonna end your lives. Like you are dead if you interact with me on this platform that I'm using for leftist social validation. Yeah, I think we're gonna be good. I think that's gonna be a pretty short war on that one.
Let's be real. This impending doom is a tantrum over losing control. Trump's policies aren't about hate. They're about protecting kids, women's spaces, and free speech. The left's meltdowns? Proof they've lost the culture war. Instead of fear, let's focus on facts. Biology isn't bigotry, merit beats quotas, and sanity always wins. Stay strong, folks. Reality's on our side.
If you're trying to intimidate, I don't know that using the word naughty is the word to use in declaring war against a group of people, especially not Republicans. Do I need to refer you over to the Second Amendment one more time? Because we might need a reminder on that one. You will lose, baby, you will lose. And with that being said, guys, I don't need to dignify these with any more responses. I'm gonna leave it to you to respond in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. As always, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do get out, but do so respectfully. We encourage healthy debate on this channel. Bye, guys. Hope you survive the war.